Well, good morning there, TikTok. Happy Monday to you. So, I don't know why, but TikTok doesn't always let me just go ahead and hit reply, and there's a video option. The only option is text. So our boy Riley over here, he says, hey, I need to replace driver side injectors. Should I replace all 8 of them with bigger ones, even though I just paid for number 3 and number 5 stock, or replace the ones I need with stock injectors? And so I hit reply. There was no video option. Maybe one of you guys can tell me why. I'm not quite sure that would be, but whatever. I said, hey, let me shoot a video on this quick, and that's what we're doing here. So the short answer is that recognize this larger conversation about ECM compensation. Should I replace all 8 of them? Riley writes. Well, should. In an ideal situation, everything on your truck would be new, right? Obviously, newer is better. At least it is most of the time. That said, sometimes it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the Midwest kid in me is like, I'm all about that. So there you go. That said, recognize if you have an individual injector that went down, don't you think the other ones led a similar service life? And this is the reason why you're like, okay, I changed out one injector and here I am. It's a week later, it's a month later, it's 6 weeks later, and now I've got another contribution code for another injector. Well, why is that? It ran so well after I changed out, injector number, 3, like this gentleman right here, And so it's like, and 5, whatever the case is. But it's like, okay, I'm in there. Do I change out 1, 3, 5, and 7? Do I change out 3 and 5? Or do I change out all 8? Well, so here's the deal. Here's the skinny. 1, there's no right answer. Don't think that there is one. We'll support you with whatever you want. You want 1 injector? Great. You want a bank of injectors? Great. You want all 8? Great. If you change out the 1, recognize, and if you're eating ramen noodles, man, I get it. They're tasty the first time. About the 27th time, they're like, dab, dab, dab. Can we have something other than ramen noodles? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. But if you're eating ramen noodles because you got to do what you got to do, I want you to know, I understand. And so change out the 1 injector if you've only got the money for the 1 injector. In fact, if things are really bad, instead of changing out the 1 injector, maybe use your buddy's ultrasonic cleaner that he picked up at Harbor Freight for like $80 and take your injector apart that has the problem with it and, put it in some Simple Green and some water and take a video of you taking it apart. You can put it back together, right? Because if you put it back together wrong, you can hydrolock your motor. That'll be a bad day. But you can go ahead and you can clean up your injector with some Simple Green and some water and clean it all up and put it back together again with fresh O-rings, and now you're out the price of an O-ring kit. That's not bad. And we sell the O-ring kit. Of course we do. Okay? Or you can say, no, I don't want to do that. Let me go ahead and change out the entire injector. All right, we got you there too. So if you want to change out the O-ring kit, just do a search on O-ring on our site. You'll see the O-ring kit options to change out just the external ones, or you can change out all of the O-rings and everything. And if you're going to take it apart, you're going to need all the O-rings and everything, just saying. Okay? Now, in addition to that, you say, no, I want a new one. Perfect. We'll hook you up with a new singular injector. In both cases, you're going to want to pick up an injector bore brush. We carry that too. Clean out the bore really good. It's amazing how much trouble is created with a nick. Just a nick. Nothing against guys named Nicholas, by the way, just saying. It's a little early here, Monday at FICMRepair. It's a little jumpy. The coffee hasn't quite hit yet. So you can ultrasonic clean your injector. You can replace the injector, or you can go ahead and do the entire bank as long as you're up in there, or you can do all 8. So option 1, we talked about. Option 2, changing out the 1 entirely, not just ultrasonic cleaning it. Changing out the entire bank is a labor savings issue. Fine. I'm in there. I'm going to respect the time that I'm spending to get this far. It's like almost no extra labor to change out all 4 when you're already in there to change the 1. Why wouldn't you do that? Money. That's the good reason why. But this is all avoiding a conversation called ECM compensation, and just the logic of saying, if you need 1 tire, don't you need all 4? Probably. If 1 tire is out of tread on it, you're at discard. 230 seconds, the little wear bar across the top, right? And so, in other words, all 8 of your injectors saw a similar service life. So what happens is when you go ahead and you have a weak injector, bad enough that it throws a contribution code, the ECM is compensated for that. I've talked about that more in depth in other videos in the past. So the ECM is compensated for that injector, is compensating for that injector, compensating for that injector, and it's doing that by defueling the other ones. And so it says, hey, we're going to fuel all 8 injectors at the least common denominator of what's out here. That way my motor can run good for Mr. Riley here in this example. Okay, perfect. So when you change out just one injector and the other 7 injectors aren't that far behind, recognize your truck will run right again for now. But it won't have the power that it used to have, right? You'll be like, it just doesn't feel, it's so nice to have it running right. But if you were to put it on a dyno, you would see, oh my goodness, my numbers aren't here. Now, if you change out all 4 on that side, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, yeah, it's running better and I got some of my power back, but it still won't be 100% because the injectors on the other side are still being compensated for by the ECM, because the ECM sees, it's just looking at the number of milliseconds between rotations on the crank, right? The ECM sees that all this is going on. All right, very good. Now, the other option is you change out all 8. Well, now you're pushing the magic reset button on life. So you push the magic reset button on life, you change out all 8. If this is a late builds truck, you do the dummy plugs and standpipes as well. Maybe the new O-ringless ones, maybe the ones from diesel side, I don't know. You do the HHC nipple cups and their corresponding O-rings, and you're good there. You change the valve cover gaskets, that way it's not leaking when you're done. Perfect. Now, if it's an early build truck and you get the log rail style, maybe you change out that little flex line that hooks up to the log rail. Maybe you go ahead and you change out the HHC nipple cups and their corresponding O-rings there. We'll change them over to the HHC, sorry. And maybe you go ahead and you either re-ring that standpipe, or ideally you just replace the standpipe. Re-ringing seems to be a mixed bag for some reason. And again, valve cover gaskets. But when you go ahead and do all of this and you change out all 8, now all of a sudden the ECM's not compensating for anything, and all of your power comes back, your fuel economy comes back, and life is great for you. Now, the other option, recognize the more power you're pushing, the better fuel economy you're getting. So the other option, if you do all 8, that opens up to you, and feel free to say no to this. I mean, I understand, it's money, right? I get it. I'm a Midwest kid. I get it. I understand. So if you are like, man, I just want the best of the best here, you can go ahead and say, I'm going to get a bigger injector up in there. I'm going to throw a 20530 in there, say, and I'm going to dummy it down in software by jacking with my injector pulse width in software, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have this puppy act like it's a 15530, because a stock truck can run with a stock everything else, stock fuel system, stock turbo, stock everything else, stock, HFCM, horizontal fuel condition module, and be just fine. But it's going to require custom tuning to make that happen, and that adds even more expense. So now, instead of spending, in today's dollars, $1,800 on a set of premiums, for example, from holders, you go ahead and you say, hey, let me go ahead and instead, spend $2,640. Ooh, right. Ouch. You're basically 50%ing up your cost, and then we go ahead and pick up an SCT tuner, another $400, plus custom tunes, more money yet, and now I can go ahead and have the world be my oyster, and that way I only have to buy a set of injectors from Ed one time. I like that. I like only buying a set of injectors one time. But if you're happy with your power levels, and you're happy with your fuel economy, and you don't look for more, there's no reason to upgrade, right? You can stick with stock, and you'll be every bit of just fine. So what do you want to do? Man, I don't know what you want to do, but at least now you have all of the options. And Riley, what a great question. Should I replace? Well, yes, you should. But the fact that you just replaced the ones with stockers, it's like, man, what do we need cores back. And so it's just like, well, crap, that just seems to be, it seems to be a little rough, because you just spent all that money and now you're going to give them away in cores. Ouch. So if you maybe got a buddy with a 6.0 and he could, benefit from some injectors, you put him on the power balance test and you watch the little pretty chart and you see, oh, look, hey, Bob, down the street, you want a couple of injectors? Here, just have them, brother. Merry early Christmas, or late Christmas present, because still, I guess it's February now. At any rate, that's the story. I hope this helps. And if you have follow-on questions, please put them in the comments. I super appreciate it. Riley, you're a good dude, man. Keep it up. Thanks very much for the comment. Take care. FICMRepair.com. The goal is to tell you stuff, not sell you stuff. But we do work for everybody, and we got you. So if you're giving your business elsewhere, stop cheating on us. Recognize you can buy everything and anything you can think of for your Power Stroke, or your Duramax, or your Cummins from us over here at the friendly folks at FICMRepair.com that are just guilty of caring. Thanks.